Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Hey, baby, how you doing? It's 8:07. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning into our little flirty morning show here on WMAL. Coming up in 30 minutes, Julie, we've got Mark Peake. He's the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. You know, if you've got a statewide campaign coming for governor and attorney general and lieutenant governor, and a story like the Jay Jones story hits on Friday, you got to think, well, I've got something to work with here. This might move the needle a bit in this campaign. Let's see. We'll talk to the chairman, Mr. Peake, coming up in 30 minutes. That's Julie Gunlock. I'm Larry O'Connor. How are you, Julie?
I'm doing great. Good morning.
I'm glad you're doing great. Thank you. About time you're doing great. You'll remember during the presidential campaign when David Muir of ABC News, a so-called moderator, fact-checked Donald Trump in the middle of the debate when Trump said that, crime is on the rise, violent crime is on the rise, and David Muir says, well, as you know, Mr. President, the FBI has told us that crime statistics are on the decline. And within like 3 weeks, the FBI stealth edited their crime statistics and included something like 1,700 homicides that they just overlooked.
That
story was brought to light by John Lott, president of Crime Prevention Research Center. He looks at these numbers. He delves into them. Dare I say, Mr. Lott, you're a bit of a numbers nerd when it comes to crime statistics, and we love that about you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's great to talk to you guys, and guilty as charged.
Well, the latest sort of superpower that you've employed here has to do with this key crime statistic that the FBI accounts for that still has not been remedied or repaired. What is this crime statistic? It has to do with gun violence, right? That's constantly used to make the case for gun violence in America.
Yeah, the FBI every year puts out what they call the reports on active shooting cases. Active shootings are instances where a gun's fired in public, not part of some other type of crime like a robbery or a gang fight over drug turf. It involves anything from one person being shot at and missed all the way up to a mass public shooting. And it's something, as I show in the piece, you just see headline after headline, which says things like, people rarely use guns to stop these types of attacks. New York Times, Associated Press, others. It's used in court cases. It's used in legislative debates constantly on gun control type issues. And the problem is that even though the FBI has been told about missing lots of cases where civilians have used guns to stop these types of crimes, they haven't fixed it, even when they've acknowledged in the past that they've missed these cases, that their data is not complete. So if you look at the data from 2014 through 2024, the FBI claims that only about 4% of these active shooting cases are stopped by legally armed civilians. I think the number is closer to 36%. But even more importantly, what I've argued when I worked at the Department of Justice is that you can't expect law-abiding citizens to stop these attacks in places where it's illegal for them to be able to go and carry a gun. And if you look at just those places where they're legally allowed to carry, it's like 55% of these attacks.
So in other words, to really reach conclusions about the lawful and just use of firearms to stop a crime from happening, you've got to not count gun-free zones because that's not a fair sample space. So let me just be clear here. Is the FBI just disregarding the lawful and just use of firearms to prevent or stop crimes from happening, or is it not getting reported from the local police districts? I mean, how is there such a disconnect between these incidents and what's being reported?
Right. So the thing is, police departments don't record this data. And so what the FBI has done is spent God knows how many millions of dollars. They won't say clearly how much is spent on this. Going and hiring researchers at Texas State University to go and do unbelievably Google News searches to go and count these cases. And, is it possible that people just miss cases? Yeah, even if they are overwhelmingly just one particular type of case that they're missing, which strains some credibility. But the problem is that, it's one thing just not to do a great job and just miss one particular types of case. It's another thing, though, when people and researchers have pointed out to them multiple times over the years that you've missed these cases and not gone back and fixed it ever. That's much harder to go and justify or explain.
Meanwhile, in D.C., the Washington Post is admitting that the D.C. crime stats are rigged, and we've had some rank-and-file police officers and detectives who are also complaining for months.
Right.
What is the situation? Yeah, for years. I'm sorry, years. What is the situation in D.C.? Is there attempts to correct this, or are they just going to the leadership going to turn a blind eye?
I mean, the U.S. Department of Justice is investigating this, and obviously D.C. has settled cases where, going back years, detectives and others have made statements that they've been forced to go and reclassify a murder as, quote, taking somebody to the hospital, or taking what would have been a felony and reclassifying it as a misdemeanor, so it won't be counted in the data that the district releases or that the FBI counts. They're making it very hard to compare DC's crime rates to other cities in the country. But the irony is that while the Department of Justice is investigating DC manipulating its crime data, unfortunately, the Department of Justice, the FBI, which is part of the Department of Justice, has a similar problem, and it's getting worse. So if you just, I mentioned over the 11 years there, but if you just take the data for 2024, the FBI claims that there was not one case in the country where a legally armed civilian stopped an active shooting attack. And nobody needs to take our word for it, because we have all these listed on our website at crimeresearch.org, so people can go and double check themselves. I think it's like 48%. And if you take out the gun-free zones, it's like 63%.
Yeah.
But 63% is a lot different than zero.
That's a success story right there. And if you really wanted to do something to stop these, again, and John Lott, of course, is the author of the seminal book, More Guns, Less Crime, which shows the numbers. If you're in an area that has, constitutionally supported carry laws and gun ownership laws of responsible gun owners, there is less crime. There is less violent crime. There's less gun crime. And you point out the Annunciation Catholic school shooter in Minneapolis in this manifesto said, I heard a rumor that James Holmes, the Aurora Theater shooter, may have chosen venues that were gun-free zones. I would aim the same way. Holmes wanted to make sure his victims would be unarmed. That's why I and many others like schools so much. For me, I'm focused on them. Adam Lanza is my reason. Adam Lanza is the crumb, dirtbag, evil monster who did the Sandy Hook school shooting. So we're seeing, this guy wrote it in the manifesto, John Lott. I'm going to a gun-free zone so I can kill as many people as possible. This is data that our elected officials should be able to obtain and use so that they can make good policy decisions, and the FBI isn't recording any of it. It's unbelievable.
Right. Again, on our website at crimeresearch.org, we have statements from literally several dozen of these mass murderers where they explicitly explain time after time why they pick the target that they do. To me, that's newsworthy. And all these guys are saying, that they want to commit suicide, but they want to get media attention. And they know the more people they can kill, the more media attention that they're going to get. And they know if they go to a place where people are banned, their victims are banned from being able to go and defend themselves, they're going to be able to kill more people and get more media attention.
Yeah.
But yet you will look in vain after these different attacks. That you had all these stories that talked about the manifesto that the Minneapolis school shooter put out. And they'll talk about, well, he talks about these other school shooters, or he talks about these other mass murderers. But what they don't talk about is the reason why he brought them up was what he was learning from them in terms of what he should do to go and be successful in attack. And it's not just that case. It's the Nashville school shooter. It's the Buffalo mass murderer at the supermarket there. There are literally dozens of these cases where they make it clear, and yet you will search in vain for the media covering that part of the story. My guess is the whole gun control debate that we have right now would be dramatically different if even once in a while they said, we've had yet another guy who picked a target precisely because he knew his victims weren't going to be able to go and defend themselves.
Well,
and these guys may be crazy in some sense, but they're not stupid. And they plan these attacks long in advance.
John Lott, Crime Prevention Research Center. I know that elected officials and people in the leadership of the FBI do listen to this program, and hopefully they will hear this. We've brought attention to it, and hopefully something will change here on this. I appreciate you joining us, John, as always. Great stuff.
Thanks for being there, Larry.
Absolutely. 8:18.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Your next $1,000 could be one text away. It's $5K a day on WMAL.
Yeah. That's right. That's Bad Bunny, Julie Gunlock. Bad Bunny, who will be doing the halftime show for Super Bowl. Listen, the one good thing about Bad Bunny doing the Super Bowl show is that I think we're going to get a cameo by Cardi B, and we think Cardi B is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Yes, and we can go to the bathroom and make appetizers and just not watch the halftime show. I love a halftime show that's not interesting because I can,
or watch the Puppy Bowl. Don't they do the Puppy Bowl at
They do it before.
Too?
That's before.
Oh, right. Anyway, Bad Bunny, who claimed he didn't want to perform in the United States of America because he was afraid that the ICE would come and arrest his audience members, which I think is really more about the crew that he hires, which are all exploited illegal immigrants. Yeah. Bad Bunny was on Saturday Night Live. So wait, I thought he didn't want to perform in America.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he went to New York, and here he is, cut 16 on Saturday Night Live.
Wow! Thank you. No, but really, I'm very excited to be doing the Super Bowl, and I know that people all around the world who love my music are also happy, especialmente todos los latinos. Todos los latinos y las latinas en el mundo entero.
All right, and he went on speaking in Spanish and then had a punchline here, cut 17.
Logro de todo, demostrando que nuestra huella y nuestra aportación en este país nadie nunca la podrá sacar ni borrar. And if you didn't understand what I just said, you have 4 months to learn. We have a great...
There you go. I love the NFL. I really do. I love the game. I love the sport. I love watching the games. I love going to the... I wish the NFL had any respect for me as much as I have respect for them and their product.
Yeah, well, they don't. Yeah. And there's not a lot of competition. I just, look, my suggestion, if you love the game, if you love the NFL, if you love watching it, just turn it off during the half game show, and I don't know.
Let me just say... Christy Nome has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever, along with Tom Homan. In fact, the NFL could do something hilarious. Oh, absolutely! Actually, Christy Nome has said that, as I'm quoting here, ICE will be all over the Super Bowl.
Nice.
Homeland Security criticized the NFL on Friday and said ICE would have a presence at the Super Bowl. And said it'll be all over the place, and people should not attend unless they're law-abiding Americans who love the country.
Good.
And, of course, Bad Bunny, whom I had not heard of until this moment.
Neither did I.
Bad Bunny is he's Puerto Rican, right? So he doesn't fear any deportations. What is he worried about? He's not going anywhere.
Right.
By the way, you know what Bad Bunny's real name is?
No.
Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio.
Oh, dear. Is he related?
Do you think any related to
yeah.
Alexandria?
She's from there. Her grandmother still lives there. And it's dilapidated.
She's from Westchester County.
She brags about. Remember when she bragged about her grandmother being from there, and then they went down there, and her apartment's falling apart.
Yeah.
And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did not send her any money. I don't know. That was allegedly the case. Maybe they're related.
Well, that's your preview for the. And by the way, your commanders, your command skins, marched into Los Angeles and upset the LA Chargers yesterday.
Wow.
So they're looking good, like they're going to make the playoffs again now that Jaden Daniels is back and healthy. And, so we might have a choice to make here if the command skins make it to the Super Bowl. And we got to, sit through freaking Bad Bunny. I don't know if that's
just change the name so that you stop saying command skins, which drives me batty.
It does. Command skin sounds like a brand of condom or something, doesn't it?
Or women's feminine product.
Okay. Pick your poison. It's 8:23.
Coming up, we'll talk to Virginia GOP Chairman Mark Peake. Keep it here. It's 8:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7 in 30 minutes, we're going to hand it off to Chris Plant, so don't you go anywhere. He is raring to go. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Sorry. Microphone muted again. God, I have a problem with that.
Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Radio's not that hard. It's like 2 switches, honestly. Joining us right now, Chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, Mark Peake, who, we're in the home stretch here for the race for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. And this Jay Jones story that broke on Friday, Chairman Peake, when you took the gig, I bet you didn't think you'd have to deal with something like this, but I'd love for you to sort of speak on not just Jay Jones himself and what it's been revealed he had to say and the way he's handled it, but the fact that not one Democrat has withdrawn their endorsement for Jay Jones to be the top law enforcement officer in Virginia.
Well, Larry and Julie, thank you for having me. And I'll tell you that when I was elected Republican Party of Virginia chairman back in April, there have been all kinds of things that I never anticipated that we've gotten to deal with. But we are now heading in to the home stretch 1 month tomorrow till Election Day. And what this shows you about Jay Jones is early voting had already started. Thanks when the Democrats had complete control of the legislative branches, they passed this 45 days of early voting with no photo ID. So now he's on the ballot. People have started voting. It just shows you the Democrats have no principles whatsoever. All they care about is total and complete control and power. Because anyone with any conscience or any morals or any ethics whatsoever would not run on a ticket with a guy who said, not when he was a teenager, not 20 years ago, 3 years ago, said that about not some murderer or some other person on this, but one of his House colleagues.
Yeah, yep.
3 years ago, he said that about, and his wife and his children. And you're going to run on a ticket with that person? You're not going to ask him to step down? In essence, a quick 2-sentence statement from Spanberger. Hashmi, nobody knows where she is. I don't even think she's still in the country. I think they sent her to Australia or someplace. Nothing from them.
Nothing.
And what about the Democratic Party chair of Virginia, Lamont Bagby? Where is he on this issue? I mean, it is sad.
Chairman Peake, how are Republicans supposed to feel safe in Virginia? especially if they're not only they're running this guy, but my goodness, if he wins, head law enforcement official in the state of Virginia, and he wants Republicans murdered. How are we supposed to feel safe in this state?
The top cop for Virginia texts about killing his colleagues, shooting them in the head.
Children.
Yeah. After they laughed about what happened to Charlie Kirk, after you saw the comments from a ton of Democrats, a ton of Virginia Democrats, and some elected Virginia Democrats kind of rejoiced in it, laughed about it, thought it was funny. And now their attorney general candidate is saying the exact type of things to encourage that type of violence. It's a sad day for Virginia.
Mark Peake is our guest, chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. You've been around long enough to know that, former Governor George Allen, says an offhanded remark calling somebody macaca at a campaign event, and that ends up being a career ender for him. And now you fast forward to now, and you've got Jay Jones wishing murder on his fellow his fellow lawmakers, and everyone acts like, oh yeah, well, it's a little gaffe, but we'll move on because power is more important. So, listen, how can you and the party harness this to make the choice very clear for Virginians who have not voted yet? Because based on the polls I'm looking at, it depends on who you believe. Some of them show this to be a tight race in all three statewide races. There's other polls that concern me that show Spanberger with an insurmountable lead. So how do you view this race, and what's going to be your final argument here in these last 4 weeks?
I can tell you one thing. Any post that begins with Washington Post or any poll that begins with Washington Post, you can throw it out immediately because I don't think they've ever been accurate. I take back to polls. Who's that Iowa newspaper lady who said Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa by 20 points, and she put it out the week before the election? So that's what I think of polls. And most of the college polls in Virginia have been woefully inaccurate as well. So we think we are winning these races. I think Jason just shot way ahead. John Reed's been neck and neck, and polls have shown Winsome within the margin of error numerous times. So what we have to do, we've got to get some money, and we've got to run ads so that people can hear what the Democratic candidate for Attorney General has said, and the fact that his two running mates refused to condemn it or ask him to step aside. So that's what we've got to do. We got to get the Republican Governors Association and the Republican National Committee to help us put some commercials up. And that's, as you know, we've been outspent, and it's time to step up for these national groups and give us the money to publicize the type of people that are running for the Democrats. And let's not forget, that's what Jay Jones said, but Ghazala Hashmi stood by a banner that said, "We stand with Palestine," after they murdered innocent children, women, and Jews on October 7th. That's what they stand for.
And with an upside-down American flag next to her as she was delivering that campaign stump speech. All right, so I just want to reiterate, because I want to make sure everybody just heard that. This is the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, Mark Peake, calling on the Republican Governors Association and the RNC to step up, get some ads going, and get some money. Because the Spanberger ads are insane. The amount of money that she's gotten from outside the state of Virginia is astronomical. And so you are on the record right now, 4 weeks out from Election Day, saying you're not getting enough from these national committees. Is that right?
We are not getting the type of funding we need, especially after what just came out on Friday, to let the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia know the type of candidates that the Democrats are running. And we have got to get it, and we've got to get that message out, and we've got to get it over the airwaves.
All right. Thank you for that. Appreciate it, and we'll see if it moves the needle. At least we got it out.
We've got some calls. We're making calls this morning, and this is a national story. Everybody is covering it. J.D. Vance has commented on it. All the national news media is commenting on it.
That's right.
After what happened to Charlie Kirk, if this doesn't get your attention, nothing will.
Right.
Well, and Brian Kemp, governor of Virginia, he's the chair of the Republican Governors Association, and if he wants to make an impact here and be a national figure, he should step into Virginia and be campaigning side by side and get Winsome Sears across the finish line. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you joining us. We'll talk to you again before Election Day.
Larry and Julie.
You bet.
Thank
it's
you.
8:44.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, Julie. We'll talk again tomorrow, and hopefully we'll finally let Jane Goodall rest in peace. Here comes Chris Plant, who spent plenty of his time out in the jungles with apes and such, haven't you, Chris?
Absolutely true. So much to say about that. It could take the rest of the morning. You and I spent Saturday together, didn't we, at the United States Naval Academy?
It was nice to socialize with you off company time, at the Air Force Navy game.
The United States Naval Academy, Navy over Air Force, and an amazing football game. And it had nothing to do with what the Democrats like, though. The Democrats what do they like? They want to milk millions and millions from Americans for what? For circumcisions in Africa and transgender theater in some place.